Hello beautiful people from the internet, it is Connie over here. Today I am very happy because I found a very nice spot to record this video. I feel like there's not going to be a lot of noise around here, which I absolutely love. You know, the silence is the peak of the places where I want to be. I just heard the firework. It's 2 p.m. I'm very confused as to where fireworks could be going off from, but today I decided I'm gonna smoke a cigarette. As per usual, you know, and I'm going to be talking about something that I'm very interested in, which is my own addiction. I'm very interested and curious in my own addiction to nicotine and cigarettes especially. And so today I'm going to be talking about, you know, the evolution of it, how it was in the beginning, how it was in the middle, and how it is now. Although it's not the end, you know, it's somewhere on the ride. And let's light this up. This is a Camel Yellow that I just pulled from my surprise box. And let's smoke it and let's have a good time and let's talk about it. I'm concerned this is like not very well positioned. Is that better? I hope it is. I don't know, I can't see myself. So I really truly think it is a very interesting thing to think about addiction and how it works on the brain and how it is so different for everyone. Even when talking about the same exact substance, the same exact cigarette, these Camel Yellow cigarettes will have a different effect on me and on the next person that I, you know, find on the street and ask, you know, how is your addiction to cigarettes? I don't know, that was kind of a dumb example, but I think you know what I'm talking about. In the beginning, I started smoking around almost 3 years ago. Okay, 2.5 years ago, I'd say. And in the beginning, my addiction was very much non-existent, I would say. For the first couple packs that I smoked, the reason that I kept smoking them and coming back to the cigarettes was because I still had that very, very strong feeling of buzz in my head, you know. When you first start smoking, the buzz is overwhelming, but in a good way, you know. The drag on this cigarette is feeling very weird. Something is odd about it. I don't know what it is. Anyway, I kept smoking, you know, I smoked around 2 cigarettes every week, I would say, when I started, because I kept going back to, oh my God, I want to feel like that extreme lightheadedness, zero thoughts, dizziness, but in a good way type of feeling again. And that would keep me going back to smoking, you know. And because the buzz would last for the whole cigarette, because I was still very sensitive to it and non-resistant, I guess, or I hadn't built a tolerance yet, the buzz was extremely overwhelming and I loved it. And I kept going back to cigarettes because of that. I feel like that went on for maybe more than a couple packs, although I went through packs very slowly when I first started. It took a while for me to, you know, have less buzz than that. So I feel like maybe 6 or 7 months after I started smoking, which is a long time. This, you know, this is only because of the amount that I smoked and how intolerant to nicotine I am. Not intolerant, but how low tolerance I have, you know. My buzzes are still pretty big, especially if I smoke a cigarillo, which I could have chosen a cigarillo today, but I was feeling the cigarette vibes. I don't know exactly how long after that, but some months after that, I started noticing that my buzz wouldn't last for the whole cigarette. I would get a buzz when I smoked the cigarette on the first hit, and then it would stop at around the middle of the cigarette, and then look at how weirdly this is burning. And then towards the end of the cigarette, I would start feeling the buzz again, but it was much more controlled. I would not have to sit down if I was standing up. It was like way more relaxed, you know? Then somewhere along that timeline, I had a canker sore, which is relevant, I promise. And because of that, I decided to stop smoking for around 4 or 5 days because I wanted it to heal. And I had read on the internet that, you know, not smoking actually makes your canker sore heal slower. So I was like, okay. And I even made a video about it, you know, me trying to quit for 4 days. And that is when I realized that I was craving the cigarette. That was the first time that I realized what craving for a cigarette is, especially at what I call my trigger times, which is, you know, sunset, nighttime is when I feel like smoking a cigarette the most. Those were the times where I was like, what is this feeling like? I'm feeling like I want to smoke a cigarette, like I really want to smoke a cigarette right now. It was kind of a longing and an anxiety to feel you know, just the taste of the cigarette to feel the buzz, to feel relaxed. Now, what I find odd in my experience with cigarettes is that even today, if I decide to take a 3-day break, a 4-day break, I long to smoke a cigarette. I'm not exactly sure if that's the expression I'm looking for, but I want to smoke a cigarette, I guess. Every day I want to smoke a cigarette, you know, but it's not so overwhelming to the point where I cannot focus on anything else. You know, I remember my dad, he used to smoke packed cigarettes. And when I was younger, and I remember like us being in the mall, and he physically could not handle the anxiety. He had to go outside of the mall and smoke a cigarette because he was so anxious he couldn't, you know, be in the mall. Which, what I find interesting is that I still don't feel that extreme anxiety, nor do I want to feel it, you know. I'm not trying to feel anything like that, but you know, it's only to be expected if I keep smoking, which I kind of like my cigarettes, you know, it is what it is. But I still don't have that extreme feeling of, I really need the cigarette right now or else I cannot function. I do think about cigarettes often, and I do think about me wanting to smoke them, but it's not, you know, something that stops me from going on with my day. And I don't know if what happened to my dad and what I saw happening happens to a lot of people that smoke cigarettes. And that's another thing that I find very interesting. It's very specific to each person, you know. Nowadays, what I find interesting is that as soon as I take the first hit, I don't feel the buzz only at the end of the cigarette, only if I'm lucky, you know, or only if I'm smoking like a full flavored cigarette usually, or a cigarillo. I feel a very light buzz at the end of the cigarette, but what satisfies me the most is taking the first hit and like tasting the cigarette. That is enough for me to feel happy for the rest of the day, you know. In regards to my cigarettes, you know, of course, other things also bring me happiness, but when I'm anxious to smoke a cigarette or when I'm, you know, really thinking about it, just tasting it on the first hit does it for me. I don't know if it is because of the amount that I smoke, which I understand that it's very annoying and maybe boring for me to always say, you know, I only smoke a cigarette every 2 days. I understand how that could be tiring to always hear in the videos, but often when I'm talking about the addiction, I feel like it is important to refer how much I smoke so that you can have, you know, a perspective on why my addiction is at the point that it is because of how much that I smoke. If I smoked a pack a day, probably my addiction would be way worse, you know. But because I've been controlling myself so much and only smoking 1 cigarette every 2 days, some days I smoke 2 cigarettes because I really want to, and it is what it is, you know. But I feel like it is important to refer how much I smoke so that you can understand, you know, the whole vision of the addiction, I guess. But I don't know, I find it very interesting how it has been evolving over the years. I still find it a little bit confusing how I can still, you know, want a cigarette but control myself to not smoke it, how I've been able to not increase. I don't exactly understand what it is, you know, because smoking a cigarette truly makes me feel relaxed and happy, and as I said, even on the days that I don't smoke, I want to smoke and I'm thinking about smoking. The thing that I do is I just focus on any other activity so that these thoughts of I want to smoke a cigarette can leave my brain for a little bit. So I'm not exactly sure how I've been able to keep it as to the amount that I've been keeping it, but from the comments that I've read on the channel also, I know that a lot other people and a lot of you guys also smoke like 1 cigarette every day, every other day, which I didn't know was a possibility when I started smoking. I thought that, you know, after a month you were smoking like 10 cigarettes a day. And for some people that may be true, and that is the tricky part about addiction, you know, is that it's so different for everyone and you will not know how it is to you until you try it. And that's why trying to smoke a cigarette is so dangerous, because you don't know if you are going to get addicted on the first one and that you cannot let it go anymore. It's truly different for everyone, and my experience is not going to be yours, you know. I find it very interesting. I don't know. Thinking about this topic always makes my brain go in all sorts of directions. But you know what? I think the best part and the thing that I love most about cigarettes is going outside in some place like this, still be inside my car, because I really love being in my own space, you know, where I know no one is going to bother me. Just smoke a cigarette, like taste it, see the smoke. It relaxes me so much. Feeling the buzz in my head if I get it. and just, you know, enjoying the moment, which is, before I started smoking cigarettes, which this is going to be really dumb, but I feel like I didn't go out as much as I go these days, because every time I want to smoke, I have to go out. I'm not going to smoke at home. That's kind of boring. So I always come to a place like this, you know, and I don't know. I really enjoy smoking my cigarettes. What can I do? What can I say about it? But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you found it somewhat interesting, and I'll definitely be seeing you soon. And I hope you enjoyed. I guess I already said that. Anyway, have a good day. Bye.